Welcome to DCE Learning Management System. In this session, we discuss cross ratio of 4 points and problems on bilinear transformation. So first, we define cross ratio of 4 points. If Z1, Z2, Z3, Z4 are 4 distinct points, then the ratio Z1 minus Z2 into Z3 minus Z4 divided by Z2 minus Z3 into Z4 minus Z1 is called the cross ratio of 4 points, and it is denoted by Z1, Z2, Z3, Z4 within the brackets. That is, the cross ratio of 4 points Z1, Z2, Z3, Z4 is equal to Z1 minus Z2 into Z3 minus Z4 whole divided by Z2 minus Z3 into Z4 minus Z1. So here we considered 4 distinct points in the Z plane. Correspondingly, the cross ratio of 4 distinct points in the Z plane is denoted by Z1, Z2, Z3, Z4 in the brackets, that is open brackets. So ಈ ತರ open brackets ಅಲ್ಲಿ ನೀವು 4 distinct points ನ represent ಮಾಡಿದಿರ ಅಂದ್ರೆ it represents the cross ratio of 4 points. And how to write this cross ratio of 4 points? That is equal to Z1 minus Z2, that is first term minus second term, into Z3 minus Z4, third term minus fourth term, divided by, in denominator, Z2 minus Z3, that is second term minus third term, into Z4 minus Z1, fourth term minus first term. So this is the cross ratio of 4 points. So by using this, we prove one of the important theorem in bilinear transformation. A bilinear transformation preserves the cross ratio of 4 points, or this theorem can also be stated as: let W1, W2, W3, W4 be the images of the 4 distinct points Z1, Z2, Z3, Z4 in the Z plane under a bilinear transformation. Then W1, W2, W3, W4, that is cross ratio of 4 points in W plane, is equal to the corresponding cross ratio of 4 points in Z plane. So in the theorem, we prove that the bilinear transformation preserves cross ratio of 4 points, means we just prove that the cross ratio of 4 points in W plane is equal to the corresponding cross ratio of 4 points in Z plane. Adanna neevilli prove madbeku. So to prove that, let us consider a bilinear transformation. W is equal to AZ plus B divided by CZ plus D, where AD minus BC is always not equal to 0. So bilinear transformation na consider madi, always it satisfies the condition AD minus BC is not equal to 0. Now let us assume that W1, W2, W3, W4 be the images of the 4 distinct points Z1, Z2, Z3, Z4 in the Z plane under the given bilinear transformation, which means the image of Z1 is W1 and image of Z2 is W2, image of Z3 is W3, image of Z4 is W4 under the given bilinear transformation. So ನಿಮ್ಗೆ ಏನು bilinear transformation ಕೊಟ್ಟಿದ್ದಾರೆ, ಅದರಲ್ಲಿ image of Z1 ಅನ್ನೋದು W1 ಆಗಿದೆ, W2 ನ ಇಮೇಜು Z2 ನ ಇಮೇಜು W2, Z3 ನ ಇಮೇಜು W3, Z4 ನ ಇಮೇಜು W4 ಅಂತ ಅಸ್ಯೂಮ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಿ. Now we shall show that ನಾವೇನ್ ಪ್ರೂವ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು, it preserves cross ratio of 4 points, which means the cross ratio of 4 points in W plane is W1, W2, W3, W4, which is equal to the cross ratio of 4 points in Z plane, that is Z1, Z2, Z3, Z4. ಈ ಕಂಡೀಷನ್ ಅನ್ನು ನಾವು ಪ್ರೂವ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು. What is this condition? This is the cross ratio of 4 points. That is, bilinear transformation preserves the cross ratio of 4 points. To prove this, we substitute Z1 and W1 in the bilinear transformation. That is, ಇಲ್ಲಿ ನಾವು ಡಿಫೈನ್ ಮಾಡಿದೀವಲ್ವಾ bilinear transformation. ಇದರಲ್ಲಿ ನಾನು in place of Z we substitute Z1. Correspondingly W becomes W1. Z place ಅಲ್ಲಿ Z1 ನ replace ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ W ಅನ್ನೋದೇನಾಗುತ್ತೆ W1 ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. So correspondingly we get W1 is equal to AZ1 plus B divided by CZ1 plus D. And similarly, what is the image of Z2? W2. So we substitute Z equal to Z2, correspondingly W equal to W2 in the bilinear transformation. We get W2 is equal to AZ2 plus B divided by CZ2 plus D. And similarly, Z3 is equal to W3 is equal to AZ3 plus B divided by CZ3 plus D, and W4 is equal to AZ4 plus B divided by CZ4 plus D. Now we consider W1 minus W2. If you observe the definition of bilinear transformation here, cross ratio of 4 points in Z plane ಅನ್ನೋದ್ರಲ್ಲಿ ನಿಮಗೆ ಈ ಒಂದು ಫ್ಯಾಕ್ಟರ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಏನಿದೆ Z1 minus Z2 ಇದೆ ನ್ಯೂಮರೇಟರ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ, Z3 minus Z4. So ಈ factors na ನಾನು first find out ಮಾಡ್ತೀನಿ. Just replace Z by W. So what is the first factor? W1 minus W2. So we consider W1 minus W2. W1 minus W2 na consider ಮಾಡಿದೀನಿ. That is equal to, what is W1? AZ1 plus B divided by CZ1 plus D minus W2 is AZ2 plus B divided by CZ2 plus D. So take the LCM of these two terms. What is the LCM? CZ1 plus D into CZ2 plus D. So LCM ತಗೊಂಡು cross multiply ಮಾಡಿ, we get this term CZ1 plus D into CZ2 plus D is the LCM. If I cross multiply, we get the numerator terms are AZ1 plus B into CZ2 plus D minus of CZ1 plus D into AZ2 plus B. LCM ತಗೊಂಡು cross multiply ಮಾಡಿ. Now in numerator we multiply the two factors. AZ1 into CZ2 is ACZ1 Z2 plus AZ1 into D is ADZ1, B into CZ2 is BCZ2, B into D is plus BD. Similarly, for these two, multiply these two factors and multiply by minus. First ಈ ಎರಡು factors na multiply ಮಾಡಿ, CZ1 into AZ2 is ACZ1 Z2 plus CZ1 plus B is BCZ1 plus D into AZ2 is ADZ2 plus D into B is BD. Multiply by minus, and if you observe ACZ1 Z2 minus ACZ1 Z2, these two terms get cancelled. Similarly, plus BD minus BD, multiply by minus ಮಾಡಿ, plus BD minus BD, these two terms get cancelled. What is the remaining terms? ADZ1 plus BCZ2 minus BCZ1 minus ADZ2 divided by, write the denominator factors as it is. Denominator factors na multiply ಮಾಡಬೇಡಿ, we just multiply the numerator factors and simplify. Now in numerator term, if you observe in these two terms, that is ADZ1 minus BCZ1, in these two terms what is the common factor? Z1 is common. If I take Z1 common, we get AD minus BC. Similarly, plus BCZ2 minus ADZ2. In these two terms, we take minus Z2 is common. Minus Z2 common ತಗೊಂಡ್ರೆ ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ ಇದು? Minus AD becomes plus AD, plus BC becomes minus BC. So minus Z2 is common, we get AD minus BC. Again in numerator, what is the common factor? In these two terms, AD minus BC is common. Remaining term is Z1 minus Z2. Whole divided by, write the denominator factors as it is. So this is the simplified form of W1 minus W2. That is W1 minus W2 is equal to AD minus BC into Z1 minus Z2 whole divided by CZ1 plus D into CZ2 plus D. Similarly, we find the other factors, that is W3 minus W4. Numerically nimge a cross ratio of 4 points alli W1 minus W2 ಬೇಕು, ಅದಾದ್ಮೇಲೆ W3 minus W4 ಬೇಕು. ಸೊ ಇದನ್ನ ನಾನು ಡೈರೆಕ್ಟ್ ಆಗಿ ಬರೀತೀನಿ. Just we replace W1 and W2 by W3 and W4. Correspondingly Z1 and Z2 becomes Z3 and Z4. That is, similarly, what is the value of W3 minus W4? It is equal to AD minus BC common. Z1 minus Z2 becomes Z3 minus Z4 whole divided by CZ1 plus D becomes CZ3 plus D into CZ2 plus D becomes CZ4 plus D. We just replace Z1 and Z2 by Z3 and Z4. Similarly, what is the term? W2 minus W3 AD minus BC into Z2 minus Z3 divided by CZ2 plus D into CZ3 plus D. Next, W4 minus W1 is equal to AD minus BC into Z4 minus Z1 whole divided by CZ4 plus D into CZ1 plus D. So ಈ ಫ್ಯಾಕ್ಟರ್ಸ್ ಎಲ್ಲಾನು ನಮಗೆ ಕ್ರಾಸ್ ರೇಷಿಯೋ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಬೇಕಾಗುತ್ತೆ, ಅದರಿಂದ ಅದನ್ನ ಫೈಂಡ್ ಔಟ್ ಮಾಡಿದೀನಿ. ಈ ಡೆಫಿನೇಷನ್ ಅಬ್ಸರ್ವ್ ಮಾಡಿ. ಈ ಡೆಫಿನೇಷನ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ನಿಮಗೆ Z ಪ್ಲೇಸ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ W ತಗೊಂಡ್ರೆ ಏನ್ ಬರುತ್ತೆ? W1 minus W2 into W3 minus W4 divided by W2 minus W3 into W4 minus W1. ಆ ಒಂದು ಫ್ಯಾಕ್ಟರ್ಸ್ ನ ನಾವಿಲ್ಲಿ ಫೈಂಡ್ ಔಟ್ ಮಾಡಿದೀವಿ. ಫೈಂಡ್ ಔಟ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಅದಾದ್ಮೇಲೆ ಇದರಲ್ಲಿ ಸಬ್ಸ್ಟಿಟ್ಯೂಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೇನೆ. So here we find the factors. Now we substitute that. Now we consider the cross ratio of 4 points in W plane, that is W1 minus W2 into W3 minus W4 divided by W1 minus W2 into W4 minus W1. That is equal to, what is W1 minus W2? We'll find out ಮಾಡಿದೀವಲ್ವಾ. W1 minus W2 means this is the term. ಈ ಟರ್ಮ್ ನ ಸಬ್ಸ್ಟಿಟ್ಯೂಟ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಇಲ್ಲಿ AD minus BC into Z1 minus Z2 whole divided by CZ1 plus D into CZ2 plus D into, what is W3 minus W4? Same. Replace Z1 by Z2 by Z1 and Z2 by Z3 and Z4. We get AD minus BC into Z3 minus Z4 whole divided by CZ3 plus D into CZ4 plus D divided by W2 minus W3 is AD minus BC into Z3 minus Z4 divided by CZ2 plus D into CZ3 plus D into W4 minus W1 is AD minus BC into Z4 minus Z1 whole divided by CZ4 plus D into CZ1 plus D. Now if you observe the RHS term, in numerator and denominator AD minus BC get cancelled. Similarly here AD minus BC get cancelled. Denominator terms CZ1 plus D, CZ1 plus D, CZ2 plus D, CZ2 plus D, CZ3 plus D, CZ3 plus D, CZ4 plus D, CZ4 plus D. These terms get cancelled. What is the remaining term? In numerator Z1 minus Z2 into Z3 minus Z4. In denominator Z2 minus Z3 into Z4 minus Z1. So this LHS is denoted by W1 comma W2 comma W3 comma W4 within the brackets. That is equal to RHS is denoted by Z1 comma Z2 comma Z3 comma Z4 within the brackets. So we proved that the bilinear transformation preserves the cross ratio of 4 points. Now we solve the problems on bilinear transformation. First one, find the bilinear transformation which map the points z is equal to 1 comma I comma minus 1 into W is equal to I comma 0 comma minus I. So we find the bilinear transformation which maps these points, that is the image of 1 is I, image of I is 0, image of minus 1 is minus I under the bilinear transformation. ಆ bilinear transformation ಅನ್ನೋದು ನಾನು ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಫೈಂಡ್ ಔಟ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕಾಗುತ್ತೆ by using these given points. So let us consider the bilinear transformation, that is W is equal to AZ plus B divided by CZ plus D be the required bilinear transformation. So ಈ ಒಂದು bilinear transformation ಅಲ್ಲಿ ನಾನು ಏನು ಫೈಂಡ್ ಔಟ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು ಅಂದ್ರೆ we find the constants, that is A, B, C and D. We just find the values of A, B, C and D by using these points. So here we considered the bilinear transformation. So it always satisfies the condition AD minus BC is not equal to 0. Now we substitute the points in this bilinear transformation. So what is the value of Z? Z equal to 1. Correspondingly value of W is I. So in this bilinear transformation we put Z equal to 1 and W equal to I. So ಈ values na ನಾನು ಈ transformation ಅಲ್ಲಿ substitute ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ, we get W is equal to I, that is I is equal to AZ plus B. What is A value? 1. So Z value is 1. So A into 1 is A. We get A plus B divided by C plus D. Z value is 1 ಆಗಿರೋದ್ರಿಂದ we get I is equal to A plus B divided by C plus D. Cross multiply, we get I into C plus D is equal to A plus B. Multiply by I and take these terms to LHS or these terms to RHS. We get A plus B, I into C is IC. If I take this term to RHS, we get minus IC. I into D is ID. If I take the term to RHS, we get minus ID equal to 0. This is the equation containing the constants A, B, C and D. Take that is equation 1. Next, we put the other points, that is we put Z equal to I and what is W value? 0. So we put Z equal to I and W equal to 0 in the given bilinear transformation. We get 0 is equal to A into I plus B divided by C into I plus D. If I cross multiply, 0 into Ci plus D becomes 0. We get AI plus B is equal to 0. Take this is equation 2. Next, we put Z equal to minus I and W is Z equal to minus 1 and W is equal to minus I in the bilinear transformation. We get minus I is equal to minus A plus B divided by minus C plus D. Cross multiply, we get minus I into minus C is Ci. Next, minus I into D is minus Di is equal to minus A plus B. Take these two terms to RHS. We get minus A plus B minus Ci plus Di is equal to 0. So take this is equation 3. So we get 3 equations containing the terms A, B, C and D. So we solve these equations to get the values of A, B, C and D. So first we consider equations 1 and 3. That is, if you observe equation 1 and 3, we subtract these two equations. ಈ ಎರಡು equations ನ subtract ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ, plus A minus A get cancel. Similarly, minus D plus D get cancel. ಈ ಎರಡು equations ನ subtract ಮಾಡ್ತೀನಿ 1 and 3 ನ. A minus A cancel ಆಗುತ್ತೆ, minus ID plus ID cancel ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. B plus B is 2B. Next, minus CI is minus 2CI. So if I adding these two equations 1 and 3, we get 2B minus 2CI is equal to 0. If I divide by 2, we get B minus CI is equal to 0. So take this is equation 4. Now we consider equations 2 and 4. What is equation 2? If ಯು ಅಬ್ಸರ್ವ್ 2 ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಏನಿದೆ, ಎ ಐ ಪ್ಲಸ್ ಬಿ, ಇದರಲ್ಲಿ ಸಿ ಅನ್ನೋ ಟರ್ಮ್ ಇಲ್ಲ ಅಲ್ವಾ, ಅದನ್ನ 0 ಅಂತ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪ್ರೆಸ್ ಮಾಡಿದೀನಿ. ವಾಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಈಕ್ವೇಶನ್ 2? ಎ ಐ ಪ್ಲಸ್ ಬಿ ಪ್ಲಸ್ ಸಿ 0 ಇಂಟು ಸಿ ಈಕ್ವಲ್ ಟು 0. ಇಲ್ಲಿ ನಾನು ಎಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ರಾ ಒಂದು ಟರ್ಮ್ ಆಡ್ ಮಾಡಿದೀನಿ ಅಂದ್ರೆ 2 and 4 ನ ನೀವು ಅಬ್ಸರ್ವ್ ಮಾಡಿ. 2 ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಏನಿದೆ, ಈಕ್ವೇಶನ್ 2 ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಎ ಮತ್ತೆ ಬಿ ಟರ್ಮ್ಸ್ ಇದೆ. ಈಕ್ವೇಶನ್ 4 ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಏನಿದೆ, ಬಿ ಮತ್ತೆ ಸಿ ಟರ್ಮ್ಸ್ ಇದೆ. ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಸಿ ಟರ್ಮ್ ಇರೋದ್ರಿಂದ ನಾನು ಈ ಈಕ್ವೇಶನ್ 2 ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಸಿ ಟರ್ಮ್ ನ ಆಡ್ ಮಾಡಿದೀನಿ. ಆಡ್ ಮಾಡೋದು ಅಂದ್ರೆ 0 ಇಂಟು ಸಿ ಬರೆದ್ರೆ ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ, ದಟ್ ಬಿಕಮ್ 0, ಸೇಮ್ ಈಕ್ವೇಶನ್. ಸೊ ಎ ಐ ಪ್ಲಸ್ ಬಿ ಈಕ್ವಲ್ ಟು 0 ಅನ್ನೋ ಈಕ್ವೇಶನ್ ಅನ್ನ ನಾನೇನಂತ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪ್ರೆಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀನಿ, ಎ ಐ ಪ್ಲಸ್ ಬಿ ಪ್ಲಸ್ 0 ಸಿ ಈಕ್ವಲ್ ಟು 0 ಅಂತ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪ್ರೆಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀನಿ. ಅದೇ ತರ ಈಕ್ವೇಶನ್ 4 ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಎ ಅನ್ನೋ ಟರ್ಮ್ ಇಲ್ಲ. ಸೊ ದಿಸ್ 4 ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಬಿ ರಿಟರ್ನ್ ಆಸ್ 0a plus b minus I into c equal to 0. So these two equations contains 3 variables, that is a, b and c. So we solve these equations. To solve these equations we consider cross multiplication method. A coefficients ಏನಿದೆ ಅದನ್ನ ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಬರಿಬಾರ್ದು. What are the coefficients of b? b coefficients ಏನಿದೆ ಇಲ್ಲಿ 1 1. ಸಾರಿ, ಎ ಕೋಎಫಿಷಿಯಂಟ್ಸ್ ಏನಿದೆ 1 1, ಬಿ ಕೋಎಫಿಷಿಯಂಟ್ಸ್ ಆರ್ 1 1. ಐ ಅನ್ನೋದನ್ನ ರಿಮೂವ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಇದು 1 ಅಂತ ಟ್ರೀಟ್ ಮಾಡಿ. ಸೊ ಕೋಎಫಿಷಿಯಂಟ್ಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಬಿ ಇಸ್ 1 1, ಕೋಎಫಿಷಿಯಂಟ್ಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಸಿ 0 minus I, right, second term. Next coefficients of a ಏನಿದೆ ಇಲ್ಲಿ I 0. ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ ಕೋಎಫಿಷಿಯಂಟ್ಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಬಿ ಇಸ್ 1 1. ಸೊ ಆ ತರ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪ್ರೆಸ್ ಮಾಡಿ. ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಇನ್ ದೀಸ್ ಫ್ಯಾಕ್ಟರ್ಸ್ ವಿ ರೈಟ್ ಎ, ಈ 2 ಟರ್ಮ್ ಮಧ್ಯೆ ಬಿ ಬರೀರಿ, ಈ 2 ಟರ್ಮ್ ಮಧ್ಯೆ ಸಿ ಬರೀರಿ. ದೆನ್ ಎ ಡಿವೈಡೆಡ್ ಬೈ ಪ್ರಾಡಕ್ಟ್ ಆಫ್ ದೀಸ್ 2 ಡಯಾಗನಲ್ ಎಲಿಮೆಂಟ್ಸ್. 1 into minus I is minus I, 0 into 1 is 0. This is 1, not I. 0 into 1 is 0. That is equal to b divided by product of the diagonals. 0 into 0 is 0. Minus of minus becomes plus. I into I is I square. That is equal to c divided by I into 1 is I minus 1 into 0 is 0. Now we equate these ratios to some constant k. So ratios becomes a divided by minus I is equal to b divided by what is I square minus 1. That is equal to c divided by I is equal to some constant k. Now we equate each ratio to k. ಇಲ್ಲಿರುವಂತ each ratio ನ ನಾನು k ಗೆ equate ಮಾಡ್ತೀನಿ. a divided by minus I is equal to k. Then what is a value? Minus I into k is minus ki. Similarly b divided by minus 1 equal to k. Then what is b value? Minus 1 into k is minus k. c divided by I equal to k. Then what is c? I into k. We get a equal to minus ik, b is equal to minus k and c is equal to ik. Now substitute these a, b, c in equation 1. ಇಲ್ಲಿದೆ ಅಲ್ವಾ equation 1. ಈ equation ಅಲ್ಲಿ ನಾನು a, b, c values ನ substitute ಮಾಡಿದಾಗ ನನಗೆ d value ಬರುತ್ತೆ. Substitute the values of a, b, c in equation 1. We get minus ik minus k minus of ik into I minus di is equal to 0. a value substitute ಮಾಡಿ, b value substitute ಮಾಡಿ, c value substitute ಮಾಡಿ, write d term as it is. So if I simplify this, minus ik minus k, k into I is I square. What is I square? Minus 1. So minus of minus becomes plus k minus di equal to 0. So here minus k plus k both get cancelled. We get minus ik minus di equal to 0. That is, take this term to RHS. Minus di is equal to ik. Both sides I get cancelled. Take this minus to RHS. We get d is equal to minus k. Now we get the 4 constants, that is a value, b value, c value and d value in terms of k. Finally we substitute these values in the bilinear transformation. ಬಿಗಿನಿಂಗ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ನೀವು ಕನ್ಸಿಡರ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರಲ್ವಾ ಬೈಲಿನಿಯರ್ ಟ್ರಾನ್ಸ್ಫಾರ್ಮೇಶನ್, ದಟ್ ಈಸ್ W is equal to AZ plus B divided by CZ plus D. ಈ ಬೈಲಿನಿಯರ್ ಟ್ರಾನ್ಸ್ಫಾರ್ಮೇಶನ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ನಾನು ಬಂದಿರುವಂತ A, B, C and D ನ ಸಬ್ಸ್ಟಿಟ್ಯೂಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀನಿ. If I substitute, we get minus ik into Z minus k divided by ik into Z minus k. In numerator, take minus k common factor. Similarly, in denominator, take minus k common factor. We get iz plus 1 divided by 1 minus iz. Both in numerator and denominator cancel minus k. Finally, we get z is equal to iz plus 1 divided by 1 minus iz. So this is the required bilinear transformation which maps these points. ಆ ಒಂದು ಬೈಲಿನಿಯರ್ ಟ್ರಾನ್ಸ್ಫಾರ್ಮೇಶನ್ ಅನ್ನೋದು ನಾವೇನ್ ಫೈಂಡ್ ಔಟ್ ಮಾಡಿದೀವಿ, ಆ ಬೈಲಿನಿಯರ್ ಟ್ರಾನ್ಸ್ಫಾರ್ಮೇಶನ್ ಅನ್ನೋದು 1 ನ i ಜೊತೆ ಮ್ಯಾಪ್ ಮಾಡುತ್ತೆ, i ನ 0 ಜೊತೆ ಮ್ಯಾಪ್ ಮಾಡುತ್ತೆ, -1 ನ -i ಜೊತೆ ಮ್ಯಾಪ್ ಮಾಡುತ್ತೆ. ಸೊ ದಿಸ್ ಈಸ್ ದಿ ಮೆಥಡ್ ಆಫ್ ಫೈಂಡಿಂಗ್ ದಿ ಗಿವನ್ bilinear transformation. So we see second method, ಇದು ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಮೆಥಡ್. ಈಗ ನಾವು ಆ ಒಂದು ಥಿಯರಮ್ ನ, ದಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಬೈಲಿನಿಯರ್ ಟ್ರಾನ್ಸ್ಫಾರ್ಮೇಶನ್ ಪ್ರಿಸರ್ವ್ಸ್ ಕ್ರಾಸ್ ರೇಷಿಯೋ ಆಫ್ 4 ಪಾಯಿಂಟ್ಸ್ ಅಂತ ಥಿಯರಮ್ ನಾವೇನ್ ಪ್ರೂವ್ ಮಾಡಿದೀವಿ, ಆ ಥಿಯರಮ್ ನ ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡಿಕೊಂಡು ನಾವು ಬೈಲಿನಿಯರ್ ಟ್ರಾನ್ಸ್ಫಾರ್ಮೇಶನ್ ಅನ್ನೋದನ್ನ ಫೈಂಡ್ ಔಟ್ ಮಾಡಬಹುದು. ಸೊ ಆ ಒಂದು ಸೆಕೆಂಡ್ ಮೆಥಡ್ ನ ನಾನು ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪ್ಲೈನ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀನಿ. ಸೇಮ್ ಪ್ರಾಬ್ಲಮ್ ಬೈ ಯೂಸಿಂಗ್ ಡಿಫರೆಂಟ್ ಮೆಥಡ್. Find the bilinear transformation which map the points z is equal to 1 comma I comma minus 1 into w is equal to I comma 0 comma minus I. So we find the required bilinear transformation which maps these points, that is I is mapping with 1 is mapping with I is mapping with 0, minus 1 is mapping with minus I. Now let us assume that these points, that is the values of z are taken as z1, z2, z3. ಇಲ್ಲಿ z values ಏನಿದೆ ಅದನ್ನ z1, z2, z3 ಅಂತ ಅಸ್ಯೂಮ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಿ. Correspondingly the values of w are taken as w1, w2, w3. Now we need another point. ನೀವು ಕ್ರಾಸ್ ರೇಷಿಯೋ ಆಫ್ 4 ಪಾಯಿಂಟ್ಸ್ ಅನ್ನೋದನ್ನ ಅಬ್ಸರ್ವ್ ಮಾಡಿದಾಗ ಡೆಫಿನೇಷನ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ 4 ಪಾಯಿಂಟ್ಸ್ ಇದೆ. So we assume that the fourth point is z. Let us assume that w be the image of z under the bilinear transformation. Fourth point na ನಾನು z and w ಅಂತ ಕನ್ಸಿಡರ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀನಿ. z is the fourth point in z plane and w is the fourth point in w plane. Assume that the image of z is w. Then according to theorem, it preserves cross ratio of 4 points, so that can be written as w comma w1 comma w2 comma w3 is always equal to z comma z1 comma z2 comma z3. ಇಲ್ಲಿ ನೀವು ಥಿಯರಮ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ 4 ಪಾಯಿಂಟ್ಸ್ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಏನ್ ಕನ್ಸಿಡರ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರಿ, w1, w2, w3, w4. But in the problem we considered the 4 points are w comma w1, w2, w3. Correspondingly the 4 points in z plane are z comma z1 comma z2 comma z3 ಅಂತ ಕನ್ಸಿಡರ್ ಮಾಡಿದೀನಿ. Now how to write this bilinear transformation? This can be written as first term minus second term, that is w minus w1 into third term minus fourth term, that is w2 minus w3 whole divided by second term minus third term, that is w1 minus w2 divided by last term minus first term, that is w3 minus w. So definitionally ನಿಮಗೆ 4 ಪಾಯಿಂಟ್ಸ್ ಅನ್ನೋದು ಇನ್ ಟರ್ಮ್ಸ್ ಆಫ್ z1, z2, z3, z4 ಇದೆ. ಬಟ್ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ನಾವು ಕನ್ಸಿಡರ್ ಮಾಡಿರೋದು z1, z2, z3 ಇರೋದ್ರಿಂದ ಫಾರ್ಮುಲಾನ ಕರೆಕ್ಟ್ ಆಗಿ ನೀವು ಅಪ್ಲೈ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು. ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಟರ್ಮ್ ಮೈನಸ್ ಸೆಕೆಂಡ್ ಟರ್ಮ್ into third term minus fourth term divided by second term minus third term into last term minus first term, both in LHS and RHS. So ಈ ಒಂದು ಬೈಲಿನಿಯರ್ ಟ್ರಾನ್ಸ್ಫಾರ್ಮೇಶನ್ ಏನಿದೆ ಅದರಲ್ಲಿ ನಾನು W1, W2, W3 correspondingly Z1, Z2, Z3 ನ substitute ಮಾಡ್ತೀನಿ. So W minus W1, we don't know the value of W, so write it as it is. W1 ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಏನಿದೆ ಇಲ್ಲಿ I, we get W minus I into W2 minus W3. What is W2? 0 minus I. 0 W2 minus W3 ಅಂದ್ರೆ 0 minus of minus I becomes plus I. ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಫಾರ್ಮುಲಾದಲ್ಲಿ ಮೈನಸ್ ಇದೆ, W3 ಅಲ್ಲೂ ಮೈನಸ್ ಇದೆ, so minus of minus becomes plus I, that is 0 plus I whole divided by W1 minus W2. What is W1? I. W2 0, that is I minus 0 into W3 minus W. What is W3? Minus I minus W, that is equal to RHS Z minus Z1. Z minus, what is Z1? 1 into Z2 minus Z3. What is Z2? I minus of minus 1 is plus 1, that is I plus 1 whole divided by Z1 minus Z2. What is Z1? 1 minus Z2 is I, so 1 minus I into Z3 minus Z. What is Z3? Minus 1 minus Z. So we just substitute the values of W1, W2, W3 and correspondingly Z1, Z2, Z3 in the above equation. So that simplify W minus I into 0 plus I is I divided by I minus 0 is I. Take minus common factor, we get minus I into this minus I minus W becomes I plus W, that is equal to, in RHS, Z minus 1 into I plus Z whole divided by 1 minus I into, take minus common factor in this term, minus common ತಗೊಂಡ್ರೆ ಏನಾಗುತ್ತದೆ 1 plus Z. Now if you observe the numerator and denominator in LHS, numerator I, denominator I get cancelled. Similarly in LHS and RHS, in denominator minus get cancelled. What is the remaining term? W minus I divided by W plus I in LHS, that is equal to, in RHS we write these terms first, that is Z minus 1 divided by 1 plus Z ಏನಿದೆ ಅದನ್ನ first ಬರೆಯಿರಿ. Z minus 1 divided by 1 plus Z can also be written as Z plus 1 into constant complex numbers ಏನಿದೆ ಅದನ್ನ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಬರೆದಿದ್ದೀನಿ. 1 plus I plus 1 can also be written as 1 plus I divided by 1 minus I. So ಈ ಒಂದು ಕಾಂಪ್ಲೆಕ್ಸ್ ನಂಬರ್ಸ್ ನಾನು ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಸಿಂಪ್ಲಿಫೈ ಮಾಡ್ತೀನಿ. To simplify that, we cross multiply the conjugate of the denominator. ಇಲ್ಲಿ ನೀವು ಬೇಕಾದ್ರೆ ಇದನ್ನ ಡೈರೆಕ್ಟ್ ಆಗಿ ಬೇಕಾದ್ರೂ ಬರೀಬಹುದು. Always remember 1 plus I divided by 1 minus I value is I. ಇವೆರಡು ಇಂಟರ್ಚೇಂಜ್ ಆದ್ರೆ, ದಟ್ ಈಸ್ 1 minus I divided by 1 plus I ಇದ್ರೆ minus I ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ನೀವು ಡೈರೆಕ್ಟ್ ಆಗಿ ಬೇಕಾದ್ರೂ ಇಲ್ಲಿ 1 plus I divided by 1 minus I ಇರೋ ಪ್ಲೇಸ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ನೀವು I ಅಂತ ಡೈರೆಕ್ಟ್ ಆಗಿ ಬೇಕಾದ್ರೂ ಬರೀಬಹುದು. ಬಟ್ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ನಾನು ಪ್ರಾಬ್ಲಮ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಸಿಂಪ್ಲಿಫೈ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದೀನಿ. ಮಲ್ಟಿಪ್ಲೈ ಬೈ ಕಾಂಜುಗೇಟ್ ಆಫ್ ದಿ ಡಿನಾಮಿನೇಟರ್, ದಟ್ ಈಸ್ ವಿ ಮಲ್ಟಿಪ್ಲೈ, ವಾಟ್ ಈಸ್ ದಿ ಕಾಂಜುಗೇಟ್ ಆಫ್ ದಿ ಡಿನಾಮಿನೇಟರ್? 1 plus I. ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಡಿನಾಮಿನೇಟರ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ 1 minus I ಇದೆ, ಅದರ ಕಾಂಜುಗೇಟ್ ಏನು? 1 plus I. ಅದನ್ನ ನ್ಯೂಮರೇಟರ್ ಮತ್ತೆ ಡಿನಾಮಿನೇಟರ್ ಗೆ ಮಲ್ಟಿಪ್ಲೈ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದೀನಿ. ನಾವು ಇಫ್ ಯು ಅಬ್ಸರ್ವ್ ದಿ ನ್ಯೂಮರೇಟರ್ 1 plus I into 1 plus I, multiply these two terms. In denominator, multiply by complex number with its conjugate. ನೀವು ಯಾವುದೇ ಪ್ರಾಬ್ಲಮ್ ಅಲ್ಲಾಗ್ಲಿ x plus I into x minus I ಇದ್ರೆ that always becomes x square plus y square. A complex number multiplied by its conjugate ಅಂದ್ರೆ we always write directly x square plus y square. What is x? Real part. Y? Imaginary part. ಆ ಮೆಥಡ್ ನ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಡಿನಾಮಿನೇಟರ್ ಗೆ ಅಪ್ಲೈ ಮಾಡ್ತೀನಿ. ಅಬ್ಸರ್ವ್ ಇನ್ ದಿ ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ ಸ್ಟೆಪ್, write LHS as it is. In RHS, z minus 1 divided by z plus 1. ನ್ಯೂಮರೇಟರ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಇರುವಂತ ಈ ಎರಡು ಫ್ಯಾಕ್ಟರ್ಸ್ ನಾನು ಮಲ್ಟಿಪ್ಲೈ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದೀನಿ. 1 plus I into 1 plus I ಏನಿದೆ ಅವೆರಡನ್ನು ಮಲ್ಟಿಪ್ಲೈ ಮಾಡಿದಾಗ we get 1 minus 1 plus 2I ಬರುತ್ತೆ. In denominator, if I use the formula x square plus y square, what is x? Observe here, what is the coefficient of, real part? 1. 1 square ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ? 1 ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಇಮ್ಯಾಜಿನರಿ ಪಾರ್ಟ್ ಏನು? ವಾಟ್ ಈಸ್ ದಿ ಕೋಎಫಿಷಿಯಂಟ್ ಆಫ್ ಐ? -1. ವಾಟ್ ಈಸ್ -1 ಹೋಲ್ ಸ್ಕ್ವೇರ್? +1. ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಎಕ್ಸ್ ವ್ಯಾಲ್ಯೂ ಅನ್ನೋದು 1 ಆಗುತ್ತೆ, ವೈ ವ್ಯಾಲ್ಯೂ ಅನ್ನೋದು -1 ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಸೊ ವಾಟ್ ಈಸ್ x ಸ್ಕ್ವೇರ್ ಪ್ಲಸ್ y ಸ್ಕ್ವೇರ್? 1 ಸ್ಕ್ವೇರ್ ಪ್ಲಸ್ -1 ಹೋಲ್ ಸ್ಕ್ವೇರ್ ಈಸ್ +1, ಅಂದ್ರೆ 1 + 1 is 2. ಸೊ ನ್ಯೂಮರೇಟರ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ +1 -1 get cancel, we get 2i. Denominator ಅಲ್ಲಿ 1 + 1 is 2. Both numerator and denominator 2 cancel ಆದ್ರೆ ಏನ್ ಬರುತ್ತೆ? I. So always remember 1 + i divided by 1 - i ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಏನು? I. ನೀವು ಡೈರೆಕ್ಟ್ ಆಗಿ ಬೇಕಾದ್ರೂ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಬರೀಬಹುದು. Now we cross multiply. 2 ನ ಕ್ಯಾನ್ಸಲ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಕ್ರಾಸ್ ಮಲ್ಟಿಪ್ಲೈ ಮಾಡ್ತೀನಿ. w - i into z + 1 is equal to w + i into z - 1 into I. Usual multiplication. Product of two factors na multiply ಮಾಡಿ we get wz plus w minus iz minus I. In RHS multiply these two factors with I. ಈ ಎರಡು ಫ್ಯಾಕ್ಟರ್ಸ್ ನ ಮಲ್ಟಿಪ್ಲೈ ಮಾಡಿ ಮತ್ತೆ ಆ ಫ್ಯಾಕ್ಟರ್ ಗೆ I ನ ಮಲ್ಟಿಪ್ಲೈ ಮಾಡಿ we get wz into I minus w into I minus z plus 1. Now we take w terms to LHS. ಯಾವ ಒಂದು ಟರ್ಮ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ w ಇದೆ ಅದನ್ನ LHS ಗೆ ತಗೊಳ್ಳಿ, ಯಾವ ಟರ್ಮ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ w ಇಲ್ಲ ಅದನ್ನ RHS ಗೆ ತಗೊಳ್ಳಿ. we just interchange the terms. In LHS wz plus w, these are the two terms containing w. Write in LHS as it is. Minus iz minus I, these two terms does not contains w, so take these two terms to RHS. Minus iz becomes plus iz, minus I becomes plus I. Similarly in LHS RHS wz into I minus wi, take these two terms to LHS. In these four terms take w common factor, we get z plus 1 minus zi plus I, that is equal to, in RHS if we observe these two terms, take z common factor, we get -1 plus I. Remaining terms 1 plus I. Group those two terms. In similarly LHS w into z minus iz. In these two terms take z common, we get 1 minus I plus remaining terms 1 plus I, that is equal to write RHS term as it is. Finally we need the value of w, take this term to RHS, we get w is equal to minus z into 1 minus I plus iz whole divided by z into 1 minus I plus 1 plus I. So this is the bilinear transformation. Further this can also be written as ಈ ಒಂದು 1 plus I ಏನಿದೆ ಅದನ್ನ ನಾನು ಈಚ್ ಟರ್ಮ್ ಗೆ ಡಿವೈಡ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀನಿ. ಫಾರ್ ಬೋತ್ ನ್ಯೂಮರೇಟರ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಡಿನಾಮಿನೇಟರ್ we divide 1 plus I to each term, that is w is equal to minus z into 1 minus I divided by 1 plus I plus 1 plus I divided by 1 plus I is 1 whole divided by, in denominator z into 1 minus I divided by 1 plus I plus 1 plus I divided by 1 plus I is 1. We already know that what is 1 minus I divided by 1 plus I? Minus I. Remember ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಆಲ್ರೆಡಿ ನೀವು ಸಿಂಪ್ಲಿಫೈ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದೀರಾ. 1 plus I divided by 1 minus I ಆದ್ರೆ I ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. 1 minus I divided by 1 plus I ಆದ್ರೆ minus I. So we directly write this term is minus I. Finally we get w is equal to minus z into minus I plus 1 whole divided by z into minus I plus 1. So minus into minus becomes 1, sorry, plus w is equal to iz plus 1 divided by 1 minus iz. This is the required bilinear transformation. So by using this theorem, that is the bilinear transformation preserves cross ratio of 4 points. ಆ theorem ನ ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡಿಕೊಂಡು ನೀವು ಇಲ್ಲಿ bilinear transformation ಅನ್ನೋದನ್ನ ಫೈಂಡ್ ಔಟ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದೀರಾ. ಸೊ ಈ ಎರಡು ಮೆಥಡ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಯಾವ ಮೆಥಡ್ ಆದ್ರೂ ನೀವು ಪ್ರಾಬ್ಲಮ್ ನ ಸಾಲ್ವ್ ಮಾಡೋದಕ್ಕೆ ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡಬಹುದು. ಅಂಡ್ ದೀಸ್ ಆರ್ ದಿ ರೆಫರೆನ್ಸಸ್. ಥ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಯು.